Remember when games felt like they were made for you, not just for the market? When you could sit down with a Metal Gear Solid or a Skyrim and lose yourself in a world and feel like you're the only person experiencing it that way. These games were monumental in sculpting my taste in games and setting the bar so unrealistically high that I will never feel joy again like I did when I was 12. Games like Splinter Cell, Killzone, Halo had such an atmosphere to them, you started wanting to be these characters. We're gonna be Bud, Snake. Given the time, these games were adding groundbreaking mechanics and graphics without sacrificing great stories, and having the endless ability to explore. On top of all this, the music. The music from these games is the epitome of capturing the feeling you get from walking through these incredible worlds. Today, it's less about who you want to be and more about grind this XP, get the end game content before you lose interest because you need to wait for the 3-month content drip cycle with a fresh new battle pass. There's individuality in these older games, a distinct flavor that seems to have been replaced with a more calculated corporate feel in modern titles. Stick with me, this isn't just a back in my day rant, I promise. But look, Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 are still probably my 2 favorite games from this era. Those games have so much character and the gameplay was jank as shit. Capcom, Konami ass, top down, why he gotta run like that? It was a strategic mind game whether you wanted to hide in a box or hide in a locker with nudie mags cause you were 12 without the internet and this is the only way you could see boobs. Snake doesn't rely on superpowers. He has to rely on outthinking his enemies. Every room was a puzzle, and stealth wasn't an option, it was the way to survive. Every action has a consequence. When you compare these to games like Assassin's Creed or Hitman, stealth is an option and rarely enforced. You can go loud and the game will just shrug and throw a wave of enemies at you and then I can't see anything, where is she, where the fuck? Which Metal Gear Solid does a lot of, don't get me wrong. It's different, okay? It's different. It's different. Metal Gear just did such a great job with toying with you. They would play with their food. And this blew my little mind as a child. Before the boss fight of Psycho Mantis, this creepy psycho would read off games from your memory card. I see you like Castlevania. He would tell you to place your controller on the floor and then would move the controller by rattling that DualShock. But that's not even the most fucked up part. Because he was such a great psychic, he could read your every move. You couldn't attack him. The only way you could defeat him and land a hit was if you changed your controller port. You had to pause the game, unplug your controller, plug it into the second slot, and then proceed to whoop his ass. Even then at times, the screen would just go black, with the word Hideo appearing in the top right corner, alluding to Mantis being able to turn off your console with his strong psychic abilities. Can I say, I 100% would try to turn my console back on and end up turning off the console and then losing the save file and have to fucking redo the boss fight. People don't make games like that anymore. This is just one of the many moments from Metal Gear that keeps me wanting to go back and play it every couple years, like the 30-year-old dino turd that I am. If you compared Metal Gear to something like The Division 2, it makes it feel sterile. Go here, pick up this, shoot this guy, not that guy, oh shit, crouch behind this half wall. It's less about thinking on your feet and more about following specific beats and mundane details. Metal Gear made stealth feel more like survival. Today's stealth feels more like another skill tree option, something you can pick if you're in the mood but isn't required to understand the game. Oh great. Another YouTuber is here to tell me how Skyrim is the greatest adventure RPG ever created. Yep. In Skyrim, you could get lost for hours, aimlessly kicking the shit out of bandits and skeletons and whatever the fuck this thing is. Because dungeon crawling and exploring was so littered with little mysteries that were so in-depth and long, it didn't make sense how this wasn't its own fucking storyline. You could go days without setting a quest marker or pushing forward in the main storyline. Games like Horizon Zero Dawn or Far Cry are beautiful games, and Far Cry, the series, is one of my favorites personally. Vast, immaculate landscapes and stunning views, awe-inspiring but rarely surprising. An open world that is still a linear feel with no real reward for just exploring. It's the little details that create meaningful interactions. NPCs in Skyrim reacted based on your past actions, even if that meant hearing, I used to be an adventurer like you 1,000 fucking times because you just curb stomped a bandit with that Volendrung Warhammer. Modern games often reduce NPC interactions to only quest givers, so interactions tend to feel flat and unmemorable because the only time you talk to someone is when they give you something to do. In most open world games now, it feels like you're just here to complete side hustles for NPCs who barely remember you in 5 minutes. And yes, Skyrim did it too. but they did it better. Look, this isn't supposed to be some hit piece on why modern games all suck and brr. Like 12-year-old me, if you were to give me Elden Ring or Skyrim, I probably would have been like, fucking Elden Ring, everyone would. The projects that are out now are absolutely incredible. Some of the technology and some of the things that we're able to do in games and the depth of these games and the freedom that you can have in these games and just the overall like design. Things are just so beautiful and look so great. It's hard to fathom that it's a game sometimes. I kind of wonder if the nostalgia factor of old games is nice because it was so much simpler. There wasn't this crazy amount of standard. There's such a high standard for games now because I think we're at such a privileged point. Our expectations have gotten to, this game isn't in 4K, open world, running at 240 frames a second. I don't fucking want it. Well, this guy's a real fucking loser.
Nay, I mean,
I can understand if the nostalgia drip doesn't hit the same for games like Skyrim and Metal Gear Solid and Splinter Cell and Killzone, because for me, those were like my childhood games. So I get that this nostalgia hits way harder for me than it would for other people. And it's weird as shit to think that like in 10 to 15 years, there's going to be some dude that's like, hey man, remember Fortnite? I just hope that these games captured something for people the same way that these old games captured something for me. Games like Elden Ring, Breath of the Wild, Escape from Tarkov, web fishing. These games are going to live on and they're going to be those like classics that you come back to, right? But I'm just hoping that people still play games that inspire them and still kind of got the... Bro, what the fuck are you on about? You're comparing games. Shut up and get to the next fucking game. Before I reclaim my virginity by hiding away in my room for the next month and playing Skyrim for my 232nd playthrough, I wanted to talk about Jak And Daxter. Ratchet and Clank 2, but mostly Jak And Daxter because mom only had $30 and it was one or the other, or you can go home with nothing. It's up to you. This was the first game I got with my PlayStation 3, and holy shit did I put a lot of hours into it. Jak And Daxter was a seamless open world. It had no map markers. You were rewarded for exploring freely. Often games like Assassin's Creed or even FarCry can just be filled with one-way tasks and map icons directing you every which way to go. This game made exploration fun and be rewarding without making it feel like a checklist. If you stumbled upon something, it would feel like a victory. As stunning and beautiful as Ghost of Tsushima is, it feels more like a guided experience, focusing on keeping players immersed rather than letting them truly get lost. A lot of AAA titles now kind of lean towards cutscenes, and it leaves the games feeling like a narrated tour, which is Metal Gear Solid in a nutshell, but it's different. It's fucking different. As beautiful as The Last of Us can be, it's more like a cinematic experience than a game. Jak And Daxter felt more than a platformer. Today's action adventures are more gorgeous and technically impressive, but they don't always trust players to explore without a guide, without a guiding wind showing them in which direction to go. The game was clunky and it was rough. It didn't exactly have perfect visuals, but it had to be one of the most fun platformers I think I've ever played as a child. I feel like this is completely derailed. The more I'm writing this, the more I'm realizing I just wanted to talk about how cool old games were. Games today are great and they feel giant and immersive and they're great. They're great. I'm also realizing how much stealth games impacted my childhood. The feeling of every action matters, the intensity of knowing if I get spotted, the game is over. Games like Siphon Filter or Splinter Cell created a dirty laundry bin of crusty socks for stealth game enthusiasts. Can't get around this guy? Scale the wall like Spooderman. EMP the lights and the cameras. Dead guy on the floor? Eat him off a cliff. The pure style and satisfying gameplay of these games, though extremely linear, make you become so lost in the immersion that you are Sam Fisher. With such limited equipment, you're forced to think your way out of every single situation. You got a pistol, some lockpicks, and a sticky shocker, which is also what I call my hand when I leave your mom's house. Even though Splinter Cell is a calculated experience, it doesn't want to hold your hand. I don't want to be guided to areas to find specific meta weapons or items that I need to use. I want to figure it the fuck out on my own, even if that means replaying the level over and over again because it's damn near impossible to complete. Because I'm trying to use my sticky shocker on every guard in those tight little black outfits. The replayability of this game wasn't just eye candy. It wasn't just firing your dopamine receptors because big explosions and ooh, pretty colors. You could replay this level 100 times over and do it a million different ways because you have so many options, and it was so challenging. So why aren't games made like this anymore? I don't want to sound cynical, but a lot of this is just business. A lot of it's just money. When it comes down to deadlines and crunch and an industry losing its drive for creativity and trying to just be as profitable as possible. Modern games often prioritize user engagement over immersion, and they kind of go for polish over personality. They would rather polish a turd and try to resell you the same turd year after year. Like, hey, we slapped some new maps and skins, you can slide cancel. Don't you want to spend another $80 on this shiny turd we just polished? I'm not trying to bash on these games because we still get great games and they're far more advanced and technically more sound than the games I'm talking about now. It's just, it's more far and few in between to see like truly great games come out of this. And they're always called like passion projects. Like Baldur's Gate's a passion project. Elden Ring was a passion project. And it's like today's gaming industry is just larger, bigger budgets, bigger risks. So games don't want to take as much of the risk. We still see glimpses of this in some new titles. We still get the Elden Rings and the Red Dead Redemptions and Hades and Fortnite, bro. I just wish there's a game that had the depth of Metal Gear Solid and the quirks with the freedom of Skyrim and just the wild creativity of Jak And Daxter. Like, what would that look like in a game today? I don't know. Let's have a conversation in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what games I should check out, because maybe I'm just old and I just don't know what to look at anymore. Been busy playing Tarkov for too many years, so let me know, guys. Thanks for watching.